It was early in the 1950 All-Star game when Ralph Kiner drove a long one to left, and Ted Williams crashed into the wall for the catch, fracturing his elbow. But the National League pitcher Don Newcomb found out a broken elbow wasn't enough to stop Ted Williams, who kept right on playing. He hit a beautiful single to right that sent Larry Doby home with a run, putting the American League ahead 3-2. But then Kiner hit another one, and this time no one could catch it. Kiner's homer tied it 3-3 and sent the game into extra innings. Pinch hitter Tommy Henrik almost broke the tie in the 12th, but a sensational Andy Pafko catch saved the National League. No one scored till the 14th, when Red Schoendienst ended the longest All-Star game on record with a homer that gave it all to the National League. Citation had already made history. In 1948, he became one of only 8 horses that had won the Triple Crown. And now on July 14, 1951, he was entered in the Hollywood Gold Cup Handicap, the last race of his career, and an event that could make him the biggest money winner in racing history. With a thundering 4-length victory, Citation became the Turf's first $1 million earner. And though that record has since been broken again and again, Citation remains the only horse ever to hold the Triple Crown for a quarter of a century. Since 1948, he has shared the throne but twice. An incredible day, October 3rd, 1951, the deciding game in the Dodger-Giants National League playoff. In the bottom of the 9th, Whitey Lockman brought in Alvin Dark. The Giants now trailed 4-2, 1 man out, 2 on base. The Dodgers' tired Don Newcomb paused, wished his reliever Ralph Branca good luck, and walked on. Everyone was still. The first pitch was a strike. And then Bobby Thompson hit a home run. They gave the Giants a 5-4 victory. Nothing more exciting had ever happened on the baseball diamond. Watch Stanky bound out to third base to congratulate manager Leo DeRocher. What made it all the more exciting was that back in August, the Giants had trailed the league-leading Dodgers by 13 1/2 games. It was one of the most thrilling moments in sports history. Mickey Charles Mantle played for the New York Yankees from 1951 to 1968. In 2,401 games, the amazing switch hitter from Oklahoma batted .298. He led the American League 6 times in runs, 5 times in walks, 4 times in home runs, and 4 times in slugging. 3 times he was voted the league's most valuable player. The Yankees won 12 pennants in his first 14 seasons. In 1974, he was voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yet through all his playing years, Mickey Mantle was in great pain. He suffered from osteomyelitis, a rare, painful, and debilitating bone disease. With 3 operations on the knee and 1 on the shoulder, fellow players marveled at his courage. Said one, "If he can do it the way he must be hurting, then I can do it too." He helps you just by being Mickey Mantle. "16-year-old girl wins U.S. tennis crown." No, it's not Chrissy Everett. It's Maureen Connolly, and the year was 1951. Maureen Connolly, affectionately known as Little Mo, displayed her backhand as she took on Shirley Fry at New York's Forest Hills Stadium. She became one of the youngest champions in the history of the event. Little Mo went on to even greater heights as she won the Grand Slam of tennis in 1953. She took the US, French, Wimbledon, and Australian titles. In 1955, at the age of 20, Little Mo was injured in a horseback riding accident.
Hello everyone out there. This morning, Connie talking. As you notice, I'm in my tennis garb here. I just finished a very good workout on the tennis courts, and I'd like to tell you that I'm returning now to my beloved game.
Little Mo tried to come back, but she never played competitive tennis again. A gridiron gem. In 1952, Notre Dame fighting from behind. Ralph Guglielmi shot a pass to Joe Heap, and the Irish tied the count with heavily favored Oklahoma. The Sooners had the prize running back of the season. Billy Vessels whizzed through the Irish and away. They just couldn't catch Billy when he went into high gear. 62 yards and another Oklahoma touchdown. The Irish matched that one, and it was tied again when Vessels sailed around right end. Watch how he cut back for his third touchdown to put the Sooners ahead again. But the Irish wouldn't be denied. They tied it still again. Then Johnny Latner plowed to the 7-yard line. Quarterback Carey punched over, and Notre Dame stopped Oklahoma 27-21. After a long history of faring poorly in the Winter Olympics, as the Games commenced in Oslo in 1952, America's hopes were looking up. Skater Dick Button took the gold on ice. And on the slopes, there was Andy Lawrence. With one gold medal already under her belt, on February 20th, she tried for 2 in the special slalom event. Despite a fall that cost her 4 seconds, Lawrence came out of the second heat with a time no one could catch, earning her her second title. Andrea Meade Lawrence became the first American to ever bring home 2 gold medals from the Winter Olympic Games. Army, wrecked by the wholesale expulsion of its football forces in a cribbing scandal 2 years before, met highly favored Duke in New York. Pete Van connected with Pat Ubell, and the Fleet halfback stepped 43 yards for a touchdown. Duke came roaring back. Lloyd Connell went tearing around right end to the Army 30 as the Blue Devils retaliated. Watch this. Worth Lutz hit the goal line, fumbled, caught the ball in the air himself, and scored. But Army still led by a point. Last quarter, on a deep reverse, Red Smith swung around left end, threaded his way through the cadets, and went into the clear. He was all alone, and it looked like a sure touchdown until Bob Meshach raced from behind and downed him short of the goal line. The Fighting Cadets stopped the Blue Devils inches from pay dirt, and Army beat Duke 14-13. Its biggest victory since the disheartening cribbing incident. March 1953, Boston versus Syracuse in the NBA playoffs. Early in the game, Bob Brandon of Boston and Dolph Schayes of Syracuse were ejected for fighting. But the great Bob Cousy had the cool head and cool hands as he alone kept Boston in the game. 107 fouls were called in this pitched battle, and as time ran out, the two teams were deadlocked. They fought through 2 overtimes, with neither team able to pull away. This Syracuse score sent them into a 3rd overtime, where Bob Cousy, on his way to a record 50-point game, again kept Boston hopes alive. With Syracuse leading 99-97, Cousy popped in the tying basket as the third overtime ended. In the fourth extra period, it was Cousy's passing magic setting up this Bill Sharman bucket that finally broke the game open. The final score was Boston 111, Syracuse 105, in the most bitterly contested playoff game ever. In one of the most spectacular finishes in golf history, Lou Worsham of Oakmont, Pennsylvania, and Chandler Harper of Portsmouth, Virginia, battled for the $25,000 first prize in the World Golf Championships of 1953. With this putt on the 72nd hole, Harper sewed up the tournament. At least everybody thought so. Playing right behind was Lou Worsham, the 1947 U.S. Open champion, who needed an impossible 2 on the final hole. Worsham slammed a tremendous drive, and then with a wedge shot of 140 yards, he sank his eagle. Worsham said, "It was the luckiest shot I ever had in my life." It was the climax of the 1953 World Series. The Yanks were leading Brooklyn 3-2. Ninth inning, Brooklyn was trailing 3-1, and Duke Snider walked. Carl Furillo at bat. He smacked it for a shrieking 4-bagger into the right field stands, and Yank Hank Bauer couldn't save it. Snider came home, followed by Furillo with the 2 runs that tied up the ball game 3-all. Ninth inning for the Yanks, with Bauer on second and Billy the Kid Martin facing pitcher Clem Levine. Martin hit it for a single into center, his record 12th hit of the series. That was the blow that spelled a 4-3 victory for the Yanks and their 5th World Series win over the Brooklyn Dodgers. The Brooklyn Dodgers had seen their league pennant lead whittled down by the Milwaukee Braves. Big Joe Adcock was the main villain. Russ Meyer pitched a fast one to him right off Joe's ear. The stage was being set for one of the most dramatic incidents in baseball. It was August 1st, 1954. On the next pitch, Adcock hit against the wall for a 2-bagger. The day before, he had set a new big league record with 2 homers and a double in a single game. And now this. While Milwaukee fans were jubilant, Brooklyn tempers were getting shorter. Clem Labine had taken over for Brooklyn when Adcock came up again, and then it happened. The pitch hit Joe Adcock in the head, and down he went. Both teams rushed out, ready for a brawl, but Adcock's motionless body soon stopped all arguments. His life had been saved by the fact that his cap was lined with plastic. In 1967, after another near-fatal incident, it became mandatory for all batters to wear a plastic helmet. The 1954 Cotton Bowl game between Alabama and Rice was billed as a duel between 2 great running backs. Sparking the Alabama attack was number 42, Tommy Lewis. Early in the first quarter, Lewis scored. Alabama 6, Rice nothing. On the first play of the second period, Rice star Dickie Magles fired through the Bama line and simply outran the secondary for an 80-yard touchdown. Rice converted to take a 7-6 lead. Later, from his own 5, Magles again took the handoff, sprinting outside and down the sidelines toward another score. Suddenly, a tackler came from nowhere to trip him up. Unable to contain himself, Tommy Lewis had come off the bench to tackle Magles. "I was just too full of Alabama," he said later. It happened so quickly that it's worth another look. Here's Lewis coming off the bench and diving to trip Magles. The officials awarded a touchdown to Rice on the play, and Bama never recovered. Against only 11 men, Magles broke away again and again as Rice rolled to a 28-6 victory. first game of the 1954 World Series. Cleveland's Vic Wertz at bat. 2 men on, New York Giants trailing 2-0 in the fourth. A long, high ball. Willie Mays runs out after it and makes one of the greatest clutch catches in baseball history. Then pinch hitting in the 10th inning with the score tied, New York's Dusty Rhodes hits a home run into the right field stands at the Polo Grounds. It's a game-winning drive, and Rhodes is becoming the Cinderella man of the baseball world. Teammate Willie Mays goes wild, as do the fans with their admiration of Rhodes. Then in the second game, Dusty pinch hits another home run. In the third game, he pinch hits again, and on a pitch from Garcia with the bases loaded, Rhodes completes the total rout of the Indians. In the fourth game, Johnny Antonelli didn't even need Dusty Rhodes. Hank Thompson grabbed the last out. The New York Giants had won 4 straight against Cleveland, and Dusty Rhodes' nickname, the Cinderella Man, became a personal footnote to a highlight series. (1955), the first year the All-Star Game had ever been held in Milwaukee, and the fans were not disappointed. American leaguer Mickey Mantle belted a 3-run home run right into the trees. The American League scored 4 times in the first, led 5-0 in the 7th, and it looked like a shoo-in. But then the National League started a rally. There's Willie Mays scoring. In the 8th, Hank Aaron's single was a key blow, and Randy Jackson came home with a tying run. It was still tied in the 12th when Stan Musial came to bat and hit a home run that gave the once trailing National League a 6-5 victory. Churchill Downs, Kentucky, May 1st, 1955. Most bettors were tipping their hats to Nashua and jockey Eddie Arcaro as favorites in the 81st Kentucky Derby. Arcaro took Nashua number 5 to the rail as number 7 Swaps drove for the lead. With 23-year-old Willie Shoemaker in the irons, the California-bred Swaps set the pace through the backstretch and into the turn for home. In the stretch, Arcaro took Nashua to the outside for the drive to victory. But on this day, only the cameras could slow the powerful Swaps. With only gentle urging from Shoemaker's whip, Swaps held the favorite Nashua off and won going away. The upset victory was worth $108,400, with 10% going to a happy Willie Shoemaker.
October 8th, 1956. 5th game of the World Series between the New York Yankees and the Brooklyn Dodgers. For 8 2/3 innings, Yankee pitcher Don Larson has pitched a perfect no-hit game. Perfect games and no-hitters have been pitched before, but never in a World Series. Pinch hitter Dale Mitchell swings. Strike 1. Larson kicks at the mound, taking his time. Mitchell waits for Larson's next pitch. He swings and fouls it off for strike 2. Larson is on the verge of making baseball history. The pitch. Strike 3 called. Catcher Yogi Berra and Yankee teammates mob the young pitcher who's just pitched the first perfect game in World Series history.
Yogi Berra's real name, Lawrence Peter Berra. 3 times most valuable player, he belted 2 home runs in the final game of the Yankees' World Series triumph over the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1956. He set a career record for most homers hit by a catcher. The kudos came from everywhere. including Dodger superstar Jackie Robinson.
Ready in 1 second.
I don't know what I'm laughing about, to tell you the truth, but the Yogi here, the way I feel about it, had it not been for him, Nuke probably would have been in there a little longer because he certainly was throwing as well as I've ever seen him throw. And this guy here, to me, is just as fine a clutch hitter as I've ever seen in the game today of baseball. He does a tremendous job.
What's your reaction to this, Yogi?
Well, I was very thrilled, but, you know, with these Brooklyn Dodgers, that 5-run wasn't even safe. I was glad when Scarron hit that home run with the bases loaded.
In that same 56 series, the glory of Don Larson pitching the first perfect game in World Series history was shared by catcher Yogi Berra. Was he ever happy in that final strikeout? Willie Shoemaker up on Gallant Man 5 at the 1957 Kentucky Derby, known as the Bad Dream Derby because Gallant Man's owner dreamed a few nights before that his jockey would misjudge the finish line and lose the race. Here is that famous finish again in slow motion. Gallant Man driving hard on the outside, but Willie Shoemaker mistakes the 16th pole for the finish, stands up, and loses the Derby, which he had won 2 years earlier and would win again 2 and 8 years later. Once again from another angle. Willie Shoemaker said, "I just made a stupid mistake in judgment." He has not made many. He is the best jockey in the business. She was the first black tennis player invited to compete at Wimbledon and Forest Hills.
Alfie, do you think that your victory at Wimbledon will spark a lot of other Negro boys and girls to get into tennis and maybe become as great stars as you have become?
I certainly hope so, and I certainly hope that they will start young.
Althea Gibson had started young, playing paddleball in the streets of Harlem. And after her 1957 victory at Wimbledon, New York welcomed her home again. Her win over Darlene Hard was an easy 6-3, 6-2. Taking the title again the following year, no other black player would win at Wimbledon until Arthur Ashe took the men's singles in 1975. In 2 years, Althea Gibson took 2 titles at Wimbledon and 2 at Forest Hills before leaving the court for the fairway and a successful career in professional golf. The New York Giants against the Cleveland Browns, December 14th, 1958. In the first quarter, Jim Brown scored on a 65-yard run. With the extra point, Cleveland led 7-0. In the second quarter, Milt Plum tossed a long one to set up a field goal by Lou Groza from the 23. At halftime, the score 10-3 Cleveland, but the drama was in the second half. In a heavy snowstorm by now, Frank Gifford took a pitch out from Connerly for a pass to Kyle Rote, who fought his way to the 5-yard line. Minutes later, Gifford connected with Schnelker on a 7-yarder to tie the score 10-10. Then the incredible 50-yard field goal by Pat Summerall in the final seconds gave the Giants the edge 13-10. They went on to win the playoff with the Browns, only to lose the championship to Baltimore in another equally memorable football classic of 1958. Yankee Stadium, December 28th, 1958. Giants-Colts for the NFL Championship. Chuck and Charlie Connerly connected with Kyle Rote, and the fun began when Rote was tackled and lost the football. Teammate Alex Webster scooped up the forward fumble and raced deep into Baltimore territory to set up a Giant touchdown. With the Giants leading and time running out, the Colts' Johnny Unitas flipped to Raymond Berry, and he sprinted close to the New York goal line. There were only seconds left in the game when a Baltimore field goal tied the score and set up pro football's first overtime championship game. Now Johnny U and his golden arm pass the fired-up Colts down the field. Alan the Horse Amici scored for Baltimore as the Colts won the pigskin thriller 23-17. Back in Philadelphia's Overbrook High School in 1954, the varsity basketball team was on a winning streak. Of course, they had a certain advantage in player number 16, who stood 6'11" without shoes. When he grew up, he would hit 7 feet. He would also become one of the highest scoring players in basketball history. After a brief stint with the Harlem Globetrotters, he would play number 13 for the then Philadelphia Warriors. In the 1961-62 season alone, he broke 3 league records. In 1968, he would trade himself to the Los Angeles Lakers. Later, he would go on to coach. And although he preferred to be called the Big Dipper, he was best known by his other nickname, Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain.